Welcome back to another episode on the Oak and Rock Fatherhood channel. I am your host, Zachary Small, joined by Anthony Miglorino. Anthony, what's going on, brother?
Yo, what's happening?
A whole lot, man. The world is turning, gears are turning, things are always in motion. At the small home, though, life is good. But in this conversation, not so much. This is going to be one of the most frustrating and difficult conversations I think we've had, because not due to the subject nature being uncomfortable, but it being something that just elicits a response of that is very emotional. It pulls a lot of anger to the surface, a lot of frustrations. When you're talking about evil and you're not evil, the discussion can't help but bring your place to an area where you're clouded by the frustrations you have that this exists in the world and you can't just stamp it out. So today we're talking about pedophilia and the normalization and the grooming that's occurring in our society. I have a son and a daughter. You have daughters and a son. We have kids that are out in this world, and it seems as though our society is heading in a direction that is grooming them to be sexually exploited at younger and younger and younger ages. We're seeing it in children's shows. We're seeing it in apps. We're seeing it on social media. And we're having whole new waves of people that are defending it. And as that grows, we see that the trans community represents 0.1% of the population, if that. And yet we have had huge societal shift to cater to their needs needing to be met. How long before this follows that? The map, the minor attracted person. How long before that follows in those footsteps and we start turning a blind eye? Or we start making wrong right and saying, no, you're the bad person for wanting to shame them. You're trying to repress their sexuality. And then where do we go from there? Where do we go when wrong is made right? When 2 + 2 = 5? And if people aren't talking about this, and we're going to dive into it, but if we don't have this discussion, as uncomfortable as it is, how do we open the eyes to other parents who might not see what's going on? A lot of people are staring at their phone day to day, scrolling and scrolling. You've got TikTok, you've got Snapchat, you've got all these things that are popping up. And like, oh, these are good things. They're funny. Haha, cute little songs. Until you go a little bit deeper. You put the right words in and you find yourself in a whole new world on those same applications. And it doesn't take much for a kid to do that and to get sucked into that world. And without strong parents and a strong foundation, something else that has been targeted by the powers that be to weaken that area, those kids are vulnerable and they're going to get snatched up. And today we're going to talk about it, signs, symptoms, the cause, and maybe the solution to this.
All right.
It's very controlled.
First off, I would say, you touched on it briefly. I think what we're seeing and why we're seeing it is a result of the breakdown of the family. And we say this often, right? Fathers are the protectors. They're the shield and the sword. They have to protect their kids and they have to be willing to fight for them to protect them. And the reason why we have pedophilia being turned into something that might be good or want people to be perceived as good with MAPS, minor attracted people, is because we no longer have that patriarchy, right? We no longer have men who are leading the way. We have men who are weak, men who are broken, men who are beat down, men who are being constantly told that they're no good. And I think when you have that, society will break down, right? And when I mean break down is the weakest and most vulnerable people will no longer be protected, and that is children. It's a lot of why I talk about what I talk about is to protect kids, to get fathers to realize that they need to stop hitting their kids, that they need to stop using violence in the home. This is part of the breakdown to this, right? This is when we take fathers out of the house, there's nobody there to protect them. Now you have a society where kids aren't being protected. It's no more a value system that we live by. And you're going to see the snakes come in, right? You're going to see the evil leak in. They're going to get their dirty, disgusting clutches on our kids, and they're going to try to sexualize them. They're going to try to change what would be known as something that's good in the world, right? The innocence of a child, and they're going to try to expose that. And they're going to try to push these people who are mentally ill as something that's normal, right? It's not that they just want to have sex with kids. There's something wrong with them, right? And they can't help it. Even if that's the case, we can't allow it. We can't normalize it. We can't say that it's okay. You see this in other countries, you have other countries that demean women and abuse women and treat them as unequals. Here in America, we don't allow that. Not yet. Who knows? But as men, we see that going on in other places of the world, and we push back against it, right? And the reason why it doesn't happen here is because of men, because men are willing to stand up and die for the protection of their family, for women and for children. And again, I think why we're seeing the breakdown is because men have gotten off that course. We've become weak. We've been conditioned by by the ruling class, by the elites, by the people who want to control us, to be weak, to be subservient, to just obey, to just shut up. And unfortunately, there's real effects to this, right? There's real consequences to men leaving the home, to men not being around. And we see this during wartime, which is a lot different from what's going on now. But as soon as the men leaves the home, the families do break down, and it becomes difficult for society to function properly. So I think that's a lot of what we're seeing right now, and why children aren't protected anymore, because men need to step up. Men need to take control. And I completely spin that for you. Sorry.
No, it's good. There's two classes to this. I'm seeing, there's let's say there's the teen, the preteen to teen. There's that window where they're looking at these girls who are making money on OnlyFans. They're looking at these girls who are shaking their ass on TikTok, and they're getting 1 million followers. Like, oh, well, I want that validation. I want that external love. I want someone to recognize who I am. And for those girls, you can't help but wonder, like, what needs are not being met at home? What's happening to where these girls think that's where they need to go? That's where they can find love. That's what makes them popular. Why are they so dependent upon a follower count or online engagement for them to find their self-worth? So I think there's something happening there where those girls are then taken advantage of because they put themselves into a light and they're chasing that growth, that fame, that recognition that they exist. And then you've got, let's say, preteens and below, who are these just kids who are going about their day to day, and they're being exploited because they don't know what wrong is. They've been taught that certain people are allowed to touch them. Certain people are allowed to hit them. Certain people are allowed to make them do things they don't want to do. And that's what we're constantly arguing against. And people are like, well, you're saying spanking a kid is different than, someone molesting a kid. You spanking your kid and them thinking that's okay is the same thing as that person telling them you're going to get in trouble if you tell them what I just did. I'm allowed to touch you here, but don't tell your dad or you'll get in trouble. And the kid's fear of getting that spanking keeps them from speaking. I have spoken with too many individuals who've lived that life. It runs to my core, because when you hear it, it's like, this could have stopped after the first time. And it went on for years because they couldn't speak up because they were afraid, because someone convinced them that they were more afraid of dad being mad. What if dad had let them know, I would never be mad? I'm not going to hit you. I'm your father. I love you. I'll take care of you. Anything you say to me, we're good. There's nothing off the table. Nothing is too taboo. I'm your father. I just realized I'm looking at my camera like it's still on. My camera's up here. Were you going to tell me, man? Were you going to let me know that I'm not just talking to the side? So now that I'm back.
I thought that was your ranting pose.
No, it's a good rant, though. It's one of those things that these kids are being taken advantage of out of fear. And it's harder to do that to a teen. So that's where I'm saying there's this shift. There are those who are being taken advantage of and manipulated because they're vulnerable in a state where they're out of fear. They're afraid of their parents and they have a broken home. And there are the ones who are coming from that and evolving to, they're growing. They're becoming more sexualized. They're becoming adults and sort of filling out that area to where others want to take advantage of them. They're still kids, whether you're 15 or 5. You're still a kid that's growing. You're still finding your way. Even 18, it's more on the child than a number. We've made number, hey, 18, you can do this, but you still can't drink alcohol. Well, how can you go to war but not drink booze? So the numbers are just made up. They're literally just pulled out of nowhere. So when you look at that, you have to understand that there are two fights being fought. There are people getting them through the electrons, and there are people getting them in the real world. And both could be prevented if we had a more active and engaged and connected family. And I think that's where we need to focus on the family, because we can, and we'll talk resources, we'll talk, symptoms, but we need to look at the cause as well. So it's sort of which one do you hit first? Well, you got to hit the cause. What's causing this to happen? And then we can talk about, well, here's what's happening. How do we fix that?
Yeah, no, definitely. Breakdown of the family. That's unfortunately, that's a symptom of a lot of problems we see in the world today. And they know, they know this. There's things are done for a reason. Um, whatever you want to say it is, enslavement to keep people preoccupied with bullshit so they can control their lives. But it's it's a sad reality or a sad world we live in when things like this come up and we talk about normalizing pedophilia or changing the words, right? We say pedophilia and there's a negative attachment to that. We understand it, we get it, right? It's sexually abusing kids or being attracted to kids. Now they're making a new word up to try to take away the negativity of it, right? The negative aspect. And this happens all the time, especially when we abuse kids, right? People say, "Oh, no, I'm not hitting my kid. I'm going to spank them." It's the same thing, right? It's physically hitting a child. So, this to me, these things they do happen for a reason to break down the family, but they also happen because we normalize abuse to children, and not just physical abuse, but the sexual abuse. It's the statistics are every 9 minutes there's a child that has a claim of sexual abuse in this country. Every 9 minutes, and if we start to allow this to be even further widespread, these kids are going to be destroyed. Right? So many kids' childhoods are going to be ruined because nobody's speaking up about it. Nobody's pushing back against evil, and that's a lot of evil shit happening to kids if every 9 minutes there's a case of sexual abuse. So, when I think about what goes on in the world, and I think about how I want my kids to see the world, and I start to think about the roots or the cause of why this problem is happening. I couldn't imagine in my home any of my kids being a victim of sexual abuse, right? It's never gonna happen. It never will happen. It's never gonna happen. And then I think back to the stat I just told you. And if this is a constant theme in the house, that the parents are sexually abusing the kids, the fathers are abusing the daughters, or an uncle comes over and he sexually abuses, or a grandfather, or whatever it may be. It's just this constant state of torture and sexual abuse that most of these kids in this world are facing right now. And it baffles me that it goes unnoticed, or that it goes where nobody's actively pushing to stop it. Nobody's having the conversations about it and saying that it's wrong. They're having conversations where they want to normalize it more. That's what the fuck we've created now. Right? They want to talk about, oh, this is okay, right? I'm attracted to little kids, and I need help with this, or there's something that we should socially accept it, and not demean that person. I think we should absolutely keep pushing back as hard as we can, and not allow this to take control of the society that we have.
Well, that's the thing when it comes to priorities, though, right? If it's a priority, you make it happen. When it's not a priority, you just let it go to the wayside. And with this specific discussion in the context of pedophilia, pedos, mindful, attractive people, anybody that falls within that window, I don't care what the term is, anyone that's fucking around with kids, and that's not the right fucking term, anyone that's messing around with kids and trying to take advantage of them, that is who I'm talking to in this little window. And nobody wants to talk about that because A, it makes them uncomfortable, and B, we've been told that any discrimination of any sort is wrong. You most certainly can discriminate and exclude individuals looking to take advantage of kids sexually. 100%. It's evil. It's objectively wrong. And when you're talking about these kids every 9 minutes, they're becoming adults. If these kids have faced that trauma, they haven't healed from it, and now they're the adult running around, why do you not think that it's getting worse? Because now they're the ones with the power. I can now do what was done to me. This is normal. It might even be to the point where their sexuality and their understanding of sexual relationships is so distorted because of how fucking damaging and painful it was as a kid, that it just broke something inside their head, and now they don't know what normal is. And maybe their attraction to a child is their attraction to the innocence that they lost. It's their attraction to that thing that they could never had. And all of a sudden they're coming after your kids, and you don't want to make them feel bad. Like, oh, okay, you're a mindful, attracted person. That's okay. No, man.
No.
Wrong is wrong. 2 + 2 is 4. So in this discussion, when we're looking at it, we need to stop trying to humanize this. We need to make it a priority. I mean, we shut down our economy for a cold that my 10-year-old son at the time got over in 5 days. We shut down economy. Sweden is injecting microchips into people for them to travel and not have to carry around their IDs or badges or passports. They have a microchip. They took it that serious. Why aren't we taking, in my running joke before this conversation, what if we did that with childhood obesity? What if we were so serious about fixing our nation's health that we stopped allowing fast food to run ads? What if we were so serious about the opioid epidemic that we stopped allowing pharmaceutical companies to run commercials throughout everything? A lot of countries do that. What if we decided to take child, pedophilia and the child issues that they're facing, obesity, being taken advantage of sexually, childhood poverty? What if we focused on truly eradicating all of the obstacles that were in the way of allowing these kids to get the help they need? Why aren't we funding that? Why aren't we making that popular? Why is that not a running hashtag? Isn't there a fucking court case going on right now with the Epstein Island and all that? Yeah. Why is that barred and banned and you can't talk about it and nobody's allowed to report on it? But the kid with an AR who shot people in self-defense, proven in the court of law, why was that put everywhere? I didn't give a shit about it. I don't care about Kyle Rittenhouse. Like, good on him. He was fucking innocent. That's great and fantastic, but I don't give a fuck. I'm trying to do my thing, and I can't go anywhere. I can't take a shit without somebody talking to me about fucking Kyle Rittenhouse. But nobody wants to talk to me about, hey, Epstein Island had a bunch of fucking kids taken advantage of. They were groomed to go there. And I don't remember, it might have been Cernovich. I had him on the podcast. He's like, look, if your kid goes from TikTok to OnlyFans right when they turn 18, your kid was groomed to become an OnlyFans porn star. They were told, hey, do this until you're legally allowed to put your whole body out there. That's what they want. They want that fresh, young body. You want to put that out to the world. That's how you make money. That's what you are. You're a body. It's disgusting, and nobody wants to talk about it. So it grows, and it gets worse, and it gets worse. And now we're humanizing people attracted to kids. We wouldn't humanize anybody that was walking around and murdering innocent people. We would say, no, that's fucking evil. People wanted Kyle Rittenhouse to die, and he shot a fucking child pedophile and a dude who beat women. He shot evil people, and people hated him. Why will we turn a blind eye to this? What about it outside of children getting the absolute worst? What about it is allowing this to continue? Is it the people in power afraid of being caught for the shit that they've taken advantage of and somebody has dirt on them? Something somewhere is preventing this from going to the next level of eradication. People should be so fucking afraid to even to even be viewed as somebody interested in children that they're like, fuck no. Like, I know what happens. It's been clear online, on the internet, on mainstream media. If you're that person, you're going to get fucking executed. And I don't mean literally go kill the person, but you're going to be excommunicated, shunned, barred, get the fuck out of this fucking country. Don't breathe. If you were that afraid, people would shut that shit down quick. But because they see the writing on the wall, you can't get mad at me. I'm not a pedophile. I'm a mindful, attracted person. I'm not a pedophile. I'm a young, minor attracted person, not mindful, minor attracted person. You can't come after me. It's not my fault. I'm a victim. It's not my fault I feel this way. It's not my fault I grabbed those kids. I'm a victim here. Fuck no. But that's where we're headed. And it sounds fucked up. But if we had this conversation about where we're headed with COVID and the lockdowns and the shit going on a year ago, people would have said the same shit they're thinking right now. It's not going to get that bad. Bro,
shit.
New York isn't allowing 5-year-olds to fucking do anything outside because they have to be 5-year-olds have to be vaccinated against the thing that's not even fucking around with kids.
Yep.
But you've got literal pedophiles literally going after kids, and that's cool. We're going to turn a blind eye there. The shit's backwards, man. But now, so we've hit the fucking nail on the head. What can parents do? How can parents heal relationships? How can they get that communication with the kids? And what can they do without locking their kids away? Because that's not the answer either.
Yeah. No, it's not. And there are some fucking evil people in this world. Evil controlling shit. And they don't give a fuck about you kids. You'd be 100% certain about that, right? They don't give a fuck about you, to be honest. But to help families, to help fathers, we need to understand a little bit more of what's going on. And again, going back to the abuse in your home, we have to make sure we're not conditioning our kids to be victims. We have to make sure that we're not conditioning to be vulnerable as prey to these predators. To me, that's how I see it. Right? It's if you're out in the jungle and you have a whole bunch of gazelles walking around and there's lions waiting to eat them, they're looking for the weakest ones, right? They're looking for the young. They're looking for the ones that they can take and grab and eat. It's the same thing with these evil people in charge, right? This is what evil people do. So as fathers, what we need to do is make sure we're not conditioning our kids to be prey. We need to make sure the relationships we're building with them are open, honest. We communicate. We prepare them for the world that is evil at times. And we don't do this by completely destroying who they are, by hardening them or by torturing them or beating them ourselves. We do this by building them up. So now when your kids go out into the world, they're going to be aware. They're going to see what the fuck evil looks like. They're going to see these crazy bastards for who they are. They're not going to allow them into the world. They're not going to allow them next to their kids when they get older. And this is slowly how you break down this delusional, psychotic abuse that we normalize against children, right? It's to me, it's one of the only ways. You can, as a dad, you can get mad. You can go get your friends and you can go write a letter to your congressman, but it's not going to do you any good, right? Those are the motherfuckers who are doing the abuse. The people in charge, the people in power. This is how it's been forever, man. This is how society, unfortunately, has been shaped for centuries, right? They've been abusing the fuck out of kids forever, sexually, physically, and it's not going to stop if we keep looking to those in power to say, hey, please leave our kids alone. It's going to stop when we start taking control of our life, when we start raising our kids peacefully. So when they grow up, they don't accept abuse. They don't accept abuse from anybody, and they push back against it, right? And they get away from those people. And when they go out into the world, they're not those weak, easily attacked children. They're the children who, if a fucking creepy dude comes up, they're going to say, no, get away from me. And they're going to go and run for protection from dad or anybody else who can help them. So it's important to realize that we don't want to set our kids up to be prey. We want to set them up to be strong, to be confident, and to see what evil looks like. Not to always be afraid of it, but to be aware of it and notice it when it's coming after them.
When we were sort of getting our notes together for this episode, one of the things that I had looked up was just big cases where things were cracked, and they found these big rings and things like that. And sort of like Epstein Island, I found too many things, man. And honestly, I was joking with you, like my search history is not what I want it to be. I don't like looking this stuff up. I don't like the stats. I don't like reading the stories, man. It truly, because of what we talk about and because of how precious childhood is and how much I recognize that, it hits even harder than just feeling bad for the kid. It's like, it's fucking traumatizing, and it's fresh every time. I've not become desensitized to this whatsoever. And in 2010, this one stood out to me. It was a Project Spade. It was an international police investigation. The Toronto police were the point people. And in 2010, they arrested 350 people from 50 countries, and they freed 386 children from this ring that was going on. They were making videos with them. 386 children, 2010.
It's insane.
You see these stories, 400 girls kidnapped from a tribe in Africa, 50 kids missing from this village over here. And you're like, that's fucking horrible. Like, how can you lose if one kid is too many? One kid that's trapped somewhere having to do shit that they don't want to do with somebody that they don't like, that's too many. And that story was 386 kids, man. And like, even now, like, it hurts the chest to even talk about. You have hundreds and hundreds of kids trapped, imprisoned, locked away for the entertainment of literal evil, demonic fucks. And that is somebody's kid. That is somebody's son or daughter. How they were taken, how they were found, how they were grabbed, I don't know. What I do know It's similar to what you were saying. I talk to my kids so much, not directly about this, but about things like this, to where they know nobody touches you. On a very early age, you know, even when they were showering and stuff, like we'd give them a towel, like, hey, you know, doctors with mom and dad around, you know, that's who can see you, who can talk to you about this, but this is for you. You know, you decide, this is your body and you're in control of it at all times. And that's something that we've stressed very much to the kids, you know, son and daughter, throughout as long as I can remember. You know, very young, we wanted to introduce them to the fact that this is your body. Nobody touches it, because you've heard the stories, man. You know, little 3-year-old has an uncle, and that dude's showing up and he's like, oh, I got a place to stay. And all of a sudden you're looking at the bad guy outside your walls and you don't realize you let him in. You invited that vampire to suck on the youth and innocence of your kid, you know, right out from under you, and then leave shattered, broken. And they're afraid to talk because they feel like they did something wrong. If you can empower your kid before that happens to know, I will never turn my back on you. There's nothing you can do to make me stop loving you. Nothing. It's at least another bullet in the gun of them pulling the trigger and saying, hey, Dad, XYZ happened. I don't know what to do. This made me feel this way. Even if something was said that made them uncomfortable, they should be able to talk to you.
Yeah, it's a good
and
point.
If as a parent you brush it off, you're going to lose them. If you have one shot at that. If they come up to you and they say, hey, this happened, and you're like, oh, knock it off, it wasn't that bad. Okay, this is okay. And then it continues until something does. And you say, why didn't you tell me? I did. You didn't listen. I don't know how a parent could live with themselves outside of just dedicating the rest of their life to trying to fix it and just be better. But I mean, you can save yourself that fate, you know, and it's by asking the questions. Hey, I saw you made this video on TikTok. You're fucking twerking for the whole world. What are we doing? Like, what's the end play here? You got a business model? Like, let me see your business plan for what you're doing here from all these files. What are you selling? Do you have somewhere you can sell them a product? What are we doing here outside of trying to get attention? You know, what's missing? What can I do to help you? Hey, what other businesses could we start? You have that entrepreneurial mindset. I know you're looking at these girls because that's what they're doing, but look what you could do. And Anthony, all of your kids run businesses. You know, there's so many other ways. So it's not like businesses are only for men who are 50 years and up. We live in a world of opportunity, especially in America, because a lot of the things that we can do are either banned or locked away, or they just don't work in other countries. But in America, we have access to almost everything. A few states are a little stricter than others when it comes to crypto. But as far as access to the software and the platforms, dude, there are 10-year-olds making money on YouTube. There are 10-year-olds making more money than us on YouTube just by doing product reviews of toys and stuff. What if your kid was focused on, or your daughter, I mean, what if your daughter or son or whoever doing their thing on TikTok, what if you were able to take that mindset, let them know they're loved and they're seen and they don't need to be doing all of that, and that there's another way to start making money and making a dent and, you know, following their passion. That conversation could save them from finding themselves in a fucking basement. Like that could be the conversation needed to help them understand, I don't need to use my body to connect. I can use my mind, I can use my smarts, my intelligence, my personality. You know, it almost spits in the face of everything that you see in a lot of, you know, masculine manhood things. Like, oh, women, it's just their looks. It's just their looks. Dude, raise daughters who aren't just using their looks. You know, you're raising your son to be strong. Why not your daughter? You're raising your son to be confident. Why not your daughter? You know, and there's this divide. I shouldn't have to say this. I should be able to say kids. But most of the time, the man, the father, most men looking at this, they're focusing on their sons and their strength, and with their daughters, you know, be light, be innocent, be beautiful, and do your thing in the world. No, those motherfuckers, your little girls, they need to be grinding just as hard. It's different. Don't compare them to their brothers. You know, they're going to approach it differently, but it's still the same rule. If you can have that talk, maybe that's what's necessary. But just overlooking it or not wanting to address it because it's uncomfortable, you're leaving your kid on an island, and somebody else is going to get them because you're not throwing the rope to them.
Yeah, and listen, this isn't made up, right? We're not just making things up and telling you guys some tall tales, right? This is the way it's happening. We're conditioning our kids to be taken advantage of, and I think it's over 90% of victims are from somebody they know, and there needs to be definitely more awareness. We need to be aware of what's going on, who we put around our kids. And if this is happening at such alarming rates and over 90% is from people they know, how do we not know about it? What are we paying attention to? Where is our why are we so distracted that we don't know that we're bringing these bad people into our kids' lives? And I'll tell you another thing, Zach. These sick motherfuckers, they know what kids they can go after, right? They know the kids that are from abusive homes. They know the kids who are having self-esteem issues. They know the kids who their parents just tell them to shut up and sit the fuck down and you're stupid. They prey on these kids. So again, it is the responsibility of parents, of a father, to know not only the friends your kids have, but the adults you're bringing around them. Don't be naive, right? Be heightened, be aware of what's going on. And to go back to the normalizing of this, of pedophilia and MAPS, I think this stops when people start to have these conversations and they say, oh yeah, no, you have to feel bad for that guy. Or somebody tells you, hey, I'm attracted to minors, I'm a MAP. That's when you say, get the fuck away from me. This isn't happening, right? Get the fuck away from me. Go over there. I need you to leave right now, or bad shit's gonna happen, right? We don't accept it. We don't say, oh, okay, that's cool. We say, no, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to hear it. Stay the fuck away from my kids. Stay away from my family. And it can't be accepted. It can't be normalized.
We have a list. This is just the scratching of the surface. There are a few people who are, and it's even more fucked up that we have this. We have experts in this field. There are people who study this, people who've had to deal with this. They're going to be coming on talking about exactly this. We're going to go deeper into the discussion and into things you can look for. But let this video be your wake-up call. You have to be having the conversations. You have to be reaching out. You've got to be paying attention to what your kids are doing and why they're doing it. It's not normal for your kid to be sharing videos constantly of them half-dressed. It's not normal for them to be in their underwear 24/7 putting things out, because what are they looking for? What did they watch, or what did someone say to them that made them think this is what I should do? And it's a discussion to be had now, because it's not getting better. And dude, you think, oh, we're talking about 18-year-old girls. No. We're talking about 15. No. 12? No. There are 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old girls doing this shit. When you go down and you look at, the stats, you look at, what's going on, how can I be better? You start to see these stories. And for any father or parent or mother or anybody that watches this and goes and does that after to see what's going on, stand by. It's heartbreaking. Like it's absolutely heartbreaking to see what these kids are going through and how early they're going through it. And you wonder, how do you come back from that? How do you come back from that happening to you at that age, or thinking like that at that age, and then going the rest of your life? There's a lot of healing that's going to have to be required, a lot of connection, a lot of peace, a lot of trauma and tough conversations that are going to be necessary to get over it and get back to getting back on the right path. But it doesn't happen if no one talks to them. So again, we're not talking just the 18-year-old OnlyFans here. We're talking the kids who should still be playing with their dolls, playing with their toys, sitting doing their thing. You got to look out for all of them. Make sure you stay tuned, like, subscribe, share. I mean, this is not the most comfortable conversation. This is as cool and calm as I could keep it, because, dude, it's just, there is evil in the world. And as men, we know that shit. And as men, you want to stamp it the fuck out. And you can't say half the shit you want to say, because YouTube will have our fucking channel banned in a second. So the fact of the matter is, read between the lines. You have to be the shield and spear for your family. Whatever the fuck that means, you do that. And you do that as well and as consistent as you can. Make sure you're asking the questions. Don't let anything go under your radar. But again, stay tuned. We're going to have more videos coming on the subject, more videos on things you can look out for, approaches you can take. And if you have faced this, or you're someone who was a victim of this, do not be afraid to reach out. If for any reason you have a question or want to break something down, or you're not sure how to handle the next step for you. We worked with a lot of men who went through some shit, and they're like, well, how do I start to reconnect with women? How do I parent after my childhood was so shitty? I want to be a good dad, but all I know is pain. We've had those discussions. It's what we do. So there's nothing taboo. There's nothing off the table. You just got to reach out. And again, we will answer. You will be seen. It's not brushed to the side. We want people to win. We want parents to connect. We want families to improve, because when you're a strong family, you're not vulnerable. and they are going after vulnerable families. So we're connecting, we're uniting, we're helping make you the oak and the rock. So again, reach out if you need to. Stay tuned to the next video. There's been another episode of the Oak and Rock Father.